Well, I thought I would read in a couple of my own favorite essays, but that also, I guess I'm a little obsessed with extended mind thesis or externalism about mental content. But these essays present applications of that idea, which I hope are surprising, actually. So, this first one is about how telepathy is possible between people in love. It is possible as long as at least one of them is an artist. All right, so this is called Loving the Female Artist, a Guide. I'm sorry about the gendering. Can't help it, I guess, at this point. I don't know. Um, when I've been in love, I've fallen into a woman's body, her mind, her spirit, and whatever else there is. But I've always fallen through her art. This is something I realized about myself at some point. I have a type. It's not a way they look or whatever. It's the way they are. They're artists. Like they share themselves. They're there in their work. They make themselves present in the world in a way that can be shared. Maybe that's why I'm a philosopher of art, because I feel like I can't quite do it really, but I can't stop thinking about it. I crush on artists really bad too. um, Sometimes experiencing her music or her prose style um, or her painting is like looking deeply into her eyes for a long time, but also at once from her eyes into yourself, seeing all the way in. Then you might fall in love, and it can change the way you hear or see or read things. That's when I've had the biggest changes in perception, as well as the most intense experiences of beauty. When I've fallen in love with an artist. I think that history is, it's not over, but there won't be more, I think. I got married last summer. I feel like this is probably the last time, 65. Um, there has to be an opening in her art into her. She has to be there, be findable, all of her in her art. And not even all good artists are. And then you have to be moved by what you find, what is emerging from her and into you. And then you have to somehow pour it back into the world too, toward her if she's really there and right around you both, until you are embedded together in the same sweet and bittersweet life. That's when the loss begins. Lucinda Williams taught me that. Well, there's been a bunch of them. I shouldn't do that. There's been a number of them, several of them. 6. I married an artist who ended up having a business teaching art to children. I married, she was an art student when I met her, among other things, a lawyer too. I married a painter, most recently, and a writer in between. Because I respect it, and I understand it, I feel like, that kind of commitment that folks like this show. Some of these women I've never met, such as Zora Neale Hurston. I'm not going to be meeting Zora Neale Hurston either. Or Lucinda Williams, as I said. Or Chrissie Hynde, who I've written about a number of times. And then some women I didn't marry as well. At the moment I first heard Sweet Old World, the song by Lucinda Williams, recorded in a beautiful version, for example, by Emmylou Harris, my brother had just committed suicide. The first time I heard that song was a week or two after my brother committed suicide. Sweet Old World by Lucinda Williams. I was really in love for the first time and early in recovery from addiction. I was trying to change everything in my life so I wouldn't want to die. I listened to that song dozens of times. I still love it so much and I can't bear it. I don't know whether to let it play. I might shatter. It's my favorite song. Well, that's what I was saying when I wrote this. I have a lot of songs I love, of course. And it's my candidate. It's my favorite song. I'm going to go with that. And it's my candidate for the most beautiful thing in the world. Thank you, Lucinda. When something like that happens, it's hard not to start thinking about the person who made such a thing. It's hard not to start thinking about what the person who made such a thing knows that made it possible to make it. The courage and self-knowledge it took to write it and record it and let everyone hear it. Lucinda didn't make any big show about it, but in that song, she let people see who she was and what she'd been through all the way down. I started thinking about her life and how if she can say that, she must have really been through some shit. Something like the same shit I had been through. But she understood what it meant, and I didn't. And it's not just a piece of writing, it's her actual voice embodying and conveying her life and mine. I should play a few bars, man. I'm sending you out to listen to Lucinda Williams again, doing Sweet Old World. And it's a beautiful woman's voice, knowing me, healing me by tearing me to shreds. How could I not fall in love? When she expressed despair on her next album, I just wanted to heal her back with the very things she gave me, or heal someone. I tried pouring my love through the harmonica, or writing a philosophy to affirm the whole world, even though the world is such a difficult thing. I was trying to affirm even suffering and death. I wanted to teach people the melancholy but total love of life she taught me, because I couldn't have lived without it. Or couldn't have lived on without it, I felt like. Plus, the whole thing yielded the benefit of refuting Kant's aesthetics once and for all, forever. I got a theory of beauty out of it. Sweet Old World says that love redeems, and that the world, all of it, is worth loving completely, even as it hurts us so badly, or leaves us in despair, or leaves us alone. You could have said that to me all day, every day then, and I wouldn't have believed it. When she sang it, I started trying to believe it. I knew what I needed to believe if I was ever going to wend my way back to joy. I did actually fall in love with Judith Bradford, the person who showed me that song. She could play it on the guitar and sing it okay, and I could do something with it on the harmonica. We played it in the subway once. I think it was Houston Street. Then it was really mine and ours. It's the acoustics down in there. It's like you're vibrating the whole planet. People threw money, she paid her rent. At the time, her father was dying. The gifts she gave me were clothes she made with her own hands. Some of the few things that I can never throw away. I don't know where she is. Maybe I've caught up with her a little bit since then, actually. I think she's in Austin and stuff. But we're not very in touch. I remember when I couldn't stop writing about Zora Neale Hurston, and I just made a video about this, so you can consult that. Trying to polish my sentences. With her soft cloth. Trying to polish my sentences with her soft cloth, which she has a line of hers. I had to swear off. Sometimes you do. One good thing about loving the dead or distant star is that if you fuck around on her or get a sudden crush on someone else, she doesn't even notice. Dead women and distant women you've never met are polyamorous, which is good because you can't actually cuddle up with them anyway. And you might want some cuddling in your life. So every few years, Lucy might put out a bad album. Lucinda, that is. And I might get pretty pissed off. Or turn to turn to Edna St. Vincent Millay. Or, that's someone I really adored for a while. Or Chrissie Hynde for solace. or just to feel like a man. And don't worry, I'm clear on the difference between adoring someone and dating them, okay? Like, you don't want to mutate into a stalker. But that doesn't mean I don't love Chrissie Hynde, okay? Okay. Taylor Swift would be wrong for old man like me. I had my midlife crisis long ago with Judith. But still, dude, have you ever had daughters? That's pretty romantic too. And then you watch them begin to fill the space. And read and sing and write and play and draw. And you do these things with them, loving them so much and losing them too as you do, and loving even that you are losing them. That's the job. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to entirely avoid cliches on this. Sometimes that's what's most particularly true. Maybe you don't think so, but I've noticed that all of Taylor is in fact in her art. It's a different kind of art from Lucinda's, let's say, or Zora's, but it has to be. I don't know whether I would think Lucinda Williams was beautiful if I just happened to run into her perched on a bar stool somewhere. We're both aging dramatically too. I have forgotten to think about that at all for the last 20-some years. I know she's beautiful because herself is in her work, and her work is filling up this room with sound right now. I wrote that. It was as I wrote it. And the sound is literally coming into me through the holes in my body and vibrating myself and my environment like a harmonica in a subway station, de-distinguishing me. Art is one of the best ways we show that the human self is not contained in the skin, that it's assembled bits of other people and broken pieces of the world. Maybe as you gather it, you haphazardly or systematically try to mend. That's what Zora kept trying to show us. She described herself as an empty spool, bits of broken glass, lengths of string, a key to a door long since crumbled away, a rusty knife blade, old shoes saved for a road that never was and never will be, a nail bent under the weight of things too heavy for any nail, a dried flower or two, still a little fragrant. That's how she describes herself in that list. My favorite writer, up there anyway. If it's not Kierkegaard. People say that you can't know what someone else is really thinking or feeling. I think that's false. Again, you could check my my little lecture on externalism and the origins of the extended mind thesis. There's no such thing as telepathy, perhaps, but you're picturing the human mind as this mysterious little seal box inside the body. When you love a real artist, you see how her mind extends and is available because it's gathering and reshaping and inhabiting the environment you share. Sometimes someone's selfhood is remaking your visual environment or filling your house and head with sound. Sometimes the words of Zora or Marion run through me, merging with my internal monologue in a kind of counterpoint. Also, it isn't just mind, is it? It's the physical activity, skill, craft. It's her body, too. Lucinda's body is singing. Zora wrote with her whole body, I feel. I think that's why I found artists especially compelling and transforming, sexually and emotionally and aesthetically. It's better than telepathy. Marion lost, that's my second wife, Marion Winnick, the memoirist. Marion lost her first husband, Tony, the father of her two boys, to AIDS. Before I ever met her, I heard her talking about it on NPR. She wrote it out, wrote it through, spoke the words in her own voice, reaching out into me and reaching through me. We knew some of the same people and we ended up getting married. And I tried to help raise those boys. We used to sit across from each other at computers writing, making each other laugh or outraging each other. I was particularly focused on outraging her, perhaps. Then we blew apart in a slow motion explosion of our whole environment that is beginning to take up decades. A natural disaster still tossing up beautiful and horrible things. I'm sorry. This was written 5 years ago, and it's gotten a little calmer. I'm sorry, but it's important to me that it is a woman. I think there's something a little different about the way women typically do art. Maybe something a little more generous, or true, or sincere. Hope these aren't just stereotypes. Or a little less filled with preening and ego and armor. Those things are isolating rather than enveloping. And I want to be enveloped. With the right person, that doesn't make you disappear. It makes you more. Or, well, I'm fascinated by women, okay? Irritated by men. Picasso might be trying to blow you away, control you, or bludgeon you or something. Not Georgia O'Keeffe. Richard Wright, but not Hurston. T.S. Eliot, but not Millay. John Coltrane, but not Billie Holiday. I believe I know who were the greater artists. Did I just say that? Wow. Obviously, these are way too big generalizations. But I don't think anyone's aesthetics, their tastes, or sense of the beautiful is entirely separate from their sexuality. And I think that's good, as long as it isn't too twisted or oppressive. I just don't think it's surprising that someone like me keeps gravitating back toward art of women, certain women, and I'm definitely not trying to establish a norm or something. I'm just trying to say what this heterosexual love thing is like for someone like me. I can write this now because I am loving, and this was, again, some years ago, but it's still true, but it's deepened. I can write this now because I'm loving and being loved by Jane Irish. She's a painter from Philly. We met here and there a couple of times. I liked her vaguely, but didn't form that much of an impression. She's kind of a quiet person. Then I went to her place in Northern Liberties. It's filled with art, a whole life. Exploring Rococo and Southeastern Asian decorative traditions, depicting and encompassing also her friends who are members of the Vietnam Veterans Against the War, veteran poets and activists, people who recovered, if anyone actually does recover, through art and political action. There were tiny minimalist sculptures by her lover, the late Bill Walton, and other stuff by other artists. A whole lifetime was in there. I was surrounded by it, inside it, and it is so beautiful, so femmy, but so pointed and smart and hard. We made love. Since then, my taste in visual arts, which I love, has broken wide open. She's taking me to museums and helping me re-see. For 40 years, my approach was, if it doesn't look like Vermeer, it sucks. Even I was getting tired of myself. But she's letting me become someone or something else, not by trying to change me, but by helping me make a world around us both. So I just want to express my gratitude for women who give in their art. Just keep right on going, man. All right, and I'll try to get back to you. I can't paint though. There's that one.